Welcome to Ridgecrest Talk. Your host tonight, Paul Vender, from the Kern River Valley with the hunting, fishing, and the great outdoors. Burt Langford. Burt, thank you for coming over to Ridgecrest today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Just a couple of years ago, when I permanently moved up to the Kern River Valley, I decided to just make a little Facebook group, thinking I'd hook up with just a few guys about our hunting and fishing in the Kern River area. And to my surprise, it's grown to, I think we're close to 2,300 members now. And we just share our experiences of hunting and fishing or anything that has to do with the outdoors in the KRV and surrounding areas. So it's not just for the Kern River Valley. I mean, we have a lot of members from Bakersfield, Ridgecrest, but the majority of our members are reasonably local.
Right, and local being probably can drive to the Kern Valley within a couple hours.
Yeah, because we do have a lot of members that come up to fish or to hunt or just camp, hike, whatever outdoor activities they want to do. They might live closer to LA or up the Central Valley, and they still come to our area up here to enjoy the activities that we have, especially during deer season. We have a lot of deer hunters that come from out of the area, but they're still reasonably close, a reasonable drive. And then we have a lot of people that just come up to fish. We have people that come up just when the wildflowers are blooming. So one of the things I made clear when I started our group was it's not just about hunting, it's not just about fishing, it's about the love of the KRV and the outdoor activities that we have available to us. But you have to respect the right of others that do like to hunt and fish and stuff, and their right to share the stories. But it's went really well. We've never really had any problems. We have a lot of good people in the group, and that's surprising for almost 2,300 people.
Right, and that's the first challenge is how do you get together with other people? And I don't think you could have planned it to say, okay, I'm going to create this group on Facebook and expected, like you said, you thought maybe I'll get up to 40 people and we'll have this big group of 40. But you've had over 2,000 people that have joined on there, and the majority of them are keeping tabs and being involved and active in that discussion, as well as getting up in there into the Kern River Valley and enjoying the outdoors. Now, obviously, first thing you brought here is actually a fish. Let's tell a story of this fish here that you have.
I do a lot of fishing everywhere in our local area, but I still stay reasonably local, even when I go up to the Mammoth area, and I go up for 10 days every year for the trout fishing opener. And at Crowley, I caught this fish, and I've been trout fishing and hunting in California my entire life, and I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen a trout with this deep red coloration. To me, the only thing I've ever seen like that on TV and in real life are salmon when they're breeding and they go upstream and they turn red before they're going to die. And I thought it, because we don't have any salmon in Crowley, I thought it had to be some kind of hybrid. And I actually went to the Crowley Resort. You'd think they would know everything in their lake, and they didn't know what it was. We were actually camped over at Convict Lake and took it to their resort, and they didn't know what it was. So I brought it back, and I had taken some nice photos of it, and I posted it on my hunting group because I figured a couple thousand people. And nobody really knew what it was, including taxidermists, and they shared it on their taxidermist site. Well, what I ended up doing was sending the photos to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I got a call back from the biologist in Bishop. And what he told me, it's a Lahontan cutthroat trout. They used to be the predominant trout on the entire eastern slope of the Sierras. After, I guess, the last ice age, there used to be a huge inland sea that was, like from Lake Tahoe and Crowley, the eastern slope of the Sierras, all the way across into Nevada and 2 more states down. Somewhere after that, they started commercial fishing. They were billed as the world's largest trout, on record over 60 pounds. Now, we're not going to see that because we don't have an inland sea anymore. But with the commercial fishing and building dams, introducing rainbows and German browns, we took them to the brink of extinction. I can't name the 5 groups. I should have looked it up so I'd remember, but I know Cal Trout, Trout Unlimited, and the Paiute Indians were 3 of the 5 groups who approached the Department of Fish and Wildlife. They got it put on the endangered species list. Well, then they went and found some, but they were small in some little streams. They took them to Pyramid Lake in Nevada and started breeding them. It went so well that, if I remember correctly, 6 or 7 years ago, they started doing what's called put and take. They put them in, we can take them. In California, on the eastern slope, from Lake Tahoe to Crowley. And I just happened to catch one in the biologist. Mine was about 3.5 pounds. He said that that was a big one. He said he'd seen a couple around 5 pounds, but he said mine was still a big one. We're gonna start seeing a lot more of them and some bigger ones. But as quickly as they're starting to respond to living on the eastern slope again, this was a pretty good size one. But he did say he had never seen one with that vibrant color. He told me this is a male in its spawning stage. But the best news is, he says we are absolutely going to start seeing a lot of these because the breeding program went so well. They're continuing to plant more. But my fish, as an example, is proof they are breeding on their own. So we're gonna see a lot of them. I was just up there for this opener, the end of April, and I saw 4 that were the same kind of coloration, some that were lighter. But I'm seeing already in this 1 year that I've been aware of them, they're starting to show up
more
in numbers, a lot more.
So this is like 3.5 pounds. How many inches long would you say that is?
Oh God, what was it? I think it was 24.
So
yeah,
2
I think
feet.
it was like 24.
So I know when I fish up in the creek, I typically shoot for around 12-inch. If I have a 12-inch trout, that's like less than half of that probably, and definitely not having the weight and the mass that fish has.
For Crowley, that's not a big fish. Crowley, if you caught a 5-pound rainbow or German brown or even a 10-pounder, I mean, it'd be an awesome fish, but it wouldn't raise no eyebrows that big. I mean,
right.
Crowley has big fish.
Well, being in the lake versus a creek, obviously that's going to be a big difference. Well, we're going to talk some more about the fishing, but we also wanted to talk about the hunting, the hunter's ed safety, and some of the other things that are going on. This is Paul Vanderwerf, host with Burt Langford, actually from Bodfish, right?
Yes.
Coming down from Bodfish, and we're talking the great outdoors here on Ridgecrest Talk. We'll be right back after this.
Sounds good.
And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. We're talking with Burt Langford from the Kern River Valley, hunting and fishing and all of the great outdoors. We've been talking a little bit about the fish that you caught up in, was it Convict Lake?
Crowley.
Crowley Lake, okay. And actually for lake fishing, that's not necessarily one of the big fish.
Well, where they're breeding them, where their breeding program started in Nevada at Pyramid Lake, and that's from everything I understand, that's where they're getting the stock to plant and to restock, because they used to be the predominant fish. They're restocking them in the eastern slope. I saw pictures when I was just up there at Crowley fishing, guys that came back from Pyramid, and to catch a 20-pound Lahontan.
A 20-pounder.
Is not that big of a deal. It's pretty regular.
I think I'm sold. I'm going to have to get up there. I got a friend here from Ridgecrest, Tim Allen, who's moved up to Montana, and he's sporting a 20-inch trout as kind of being bigger. And here I am with my shorts on. It's not awful hot here in the desert, but I think I'll be heading up to Woottonville, Montana, up there where the legs are probably as white as mine, and showing off some of these fish that we can get in the lakes here on the eastern Sierra Nevada, because those are definitely not just catching the fish, but the struggle and the excitement that goes along with that. Now, originally when I first met you and talked to you is the hunter safety program that you were putting on up there in Kern River Valley, and we had an annual class here in Ridgecrest. I think we had the local gun club here on the set for one of the episodes that we're talking about that. But you've not only had a class this year, but you've had 3 classes this year. Is that right?
Yeah, I just got to talking to people in my hunting group, and I know that 3 years ago when my girlfriend needed to get her hunter safety training certificate, we had to come over to Ridgecrest, and it was a 2-day class, 8 hours on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday, And I just didn't understand why we didn't have something like that up in the Kern River Valley. And by talking to everybody and a lot of people, the closest that anybody seems to be able to remember the last time somebody remembers a hunter safety training course, their best guess was about 8 years ago. And I just thought that was ridiculous, because I know the members, a lot of the members of my group. I know how many kids are out there that need to take their hunter safety course and want to take it. And I had people tell me that they went to Bakersfield, they went to Ridgecrest, they went to Palmdale, and I just felt we had a need up there. So I started looking, and I found some instructors that were willing to come up, and we did end up having 3 different hunter safety training courses up there, and got over 100 students through the hunter safety training course. They have their certificates, and hopefully, I would assume they're going to be hunting this season. So it was something we really needed, and it was definitely a worthwhile effort. It's a good thing.
Right, and of course, all of the outdoors in Kern Valley, you learn, like from the Audubon Society, that it's a major bird corridor. So you have all these birds coming through. You have the whitewater rafting, and of course the lake fishing, the Kern River, all the hiking going on up there. But now also with hunting, I mean, what are the typical animals that you're hunting? Is it just deer, or is there other animals too?
Well, the majority of the people that either are from the KRV and hunt, or come up to the KRV to hunt, I would say mostly are deer hunters. And you come during deer season, and I guess what you call the south side of the 178, that's D9 zone, and the Kernville side, or what I guess is the north side, is D8, and those are our 2 zones that pretty much surround the Kern River Valley. So we mostly get deer hunters, but as most people that live up, at least up there at the lake, know, we have an unimaginable amount of bear. And I've hunted my whole life in California, and I never bought a bear tag. And I've been in the wilderness hunting and fishing, for over 40 years. And I think I saw maybe a dozen bear in the wilderness. I've seen them in parks and, Yosemite and even up around Mammoth, but the wilderness, very few. My girlfriend and I went deer scouting, I think it was 3 years ago, and in 3 days we saw 27 bear on Breckenridge and in the Paiutes. And now that's including mothers and cubs coming back into camp at night. It wasn't all bear that you could legally hunt during the daytime, but still 27 bear in 3 days. So I decided that we were going to get our bear tags. I think our chances of getting a bear were as good, if maybe not better, than getting a buck. But the other consideration is I only hunt what I eat. And I had bear years ago, and I didn't care for it. But I've had a lot of deer meat that people made that I didn't care for, and I love my venison. I think I've ate more venison in my life than I have beef. I decided that we would take 1 bear, knowing that it wouldn't go to waste, because if we don't like it, I got 2 big huskies, and they will eat it. But if it turns out that we don't like it, we'll probably never hunt another bear again. But there's unlimited potential for getting a bear all around the KRV. I chased 3 big bear right out of my front yard and up oak trees, coming back from deer hunting and bear hunting. I'd come home, my neighbors, why are you going up there? And then 3 big bear over a 3-week period, 4-week period, right in my front yard.
Right. And that's the key when you're talking about hunting is first you're going through the safety and understanding the rules and how to do it the right way. But you talk about like a tag. A tag is something that you purchase ahead of time?
Yeah, you have to, first, like you said, first you have to have your hunter safety training course certificate, and then you can get a hunting license. Then after you have a hunting license, then you can choose to buy deer tags, bear tags, and there's a lot of other predators. You can get mountain lion, not mountain lion, excuse me, bobcat, pig tags. Some of the other predators you don't need a tag at all, like fox, coyotes, and things like that. A lot of people tend to focus, I guess maybe because of the quality of the meat, the amount of meat, and then it's not always about getting the animal, it's the experience. So a big part of it, they tend to focus on deer.
And so when you buy that tag, it's going to be, say, a bear tag for, say, D9. You buy it for that specific area.
No, now for bear, your tag is for all of California.
Okay.
That's how it used to be for deer. But now our deer herds are really micromanaged. It's broken into zones. Years ago, I used to buy a deer tag or 2 deer tags, and I could take a deer anywhere in California. Now, D9 just turned in what's called a premium zone. It's like a lottery. You put in, it just turned in premium zone. You'll probably still get it. But like up by Mammoth, I think the average is about 3.5, 4 years.
So they can micromanage a tag for a certain species that they're trying to control.
Which is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and go off to another break, but it's great talking both fishing and hunting. And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. Your host, Paul Vender, with Burt Langford. We're talking the great outdoors in Kern River Valley, talking a little bit about fishing, a little bit about deer and bear. And what about, say, the birds, like the ducks and the geese? Are those off limits, or is there certain times when people are hunting those also?
No, there's, I don't know so much on the geese at our lake, but definitely duck hunting. And I believe some geese come into our lake, but I know guys. I used to duck and goose hunt a long time ago. I haven't in recent years, but I do know people that get ducks on our lake during duck season, which is more in the winter months, because the birds are flying south for the winter. You catch them during their migration. But there's a lot of other bird hunting. Every year there's a junior pheasant hunt where they take a bunch of pheasants out and let them go and let the kids shoot them. I don't know how many opportunities there are for adult hunters for pheasant hunting, but we have a lot of quail in these mountains. The numbers are down, like on everything, all the rest of our wildlife, because of the drought. A lot of people they're not quail hunting last year or this year because the numbers come down, and we're guardians of our wildlife. We might hunt and we take their lives, but we are probably more involved with animal welfare than most people. We don't just go out and kill them. If the numbers get low, we don't want to deplenish that. We want to protect it. But anyway, you have quail hunting. Dove hunting is good. I don't know what other kind of birds, but there's so you do have ducks. You have quail. The junior hunts for the pheasant. Dove hunting is good, like especially out on Kelso Valley Road. There's a lot of different kinds of hunting opportunities and fishing up here. Predators too. I mean, those predators are taking a lot of numbers on not only our quail and doves and squirrel and all that, but they'll kill the fawn from the deer too. So you go out and you might not want to eat a coyote, but you take one, you're saving the life of a lot of other wildlife species.
Right, and I think that's the key that we always talk about, is that you're never going to just go out and decimate a population, because there's such an interaction with all the different species. And if you're going to want to hunt and have your kids hunt, your grandkids hunt, you're going to have to manage that properly. And it sounds like, a little bit we talked about the tags, that is an effort if it's done right, that you can manage, like you said, the bear for the whole state, or we can manage, say, the deer in the southern section. And a lot of people here I know I grew up in Ridgecrest. I had never driven that route between Bodfish and going over towards Tehachapi. But there actually is a back road there from Bodfish to Caliente, and it's a gorgeous view. I've had to stop, have 15, 20 deer across the road. Not uncommon to come around the corner and have a cow standing right there, either on the side of the road, right in the road. And that's that area where you talked about the Breckenridge and Paiute on that side. And then also going up into the Sierra Nevada, up above Kernville, whether you can actually come from this side. There's a couple routes going up to the Kennedy Meadows and some of those places that actually come all the way back through to Kernville. I guess we could do a whole nother show on just that.
It actually goes all the way over to the 395. From Kernville all the way up and over to the 395. Right,
and that's where people sometimes here will get up in the mountains on the 395 side, shooting straight up on the eastern Sierra Nevada, and they may or may not come all the way back through over to Kernville. They may just come right back down, come back to Ridgecrest just for a day trip. You got any favorite spots, or is it like a gold miner where you keep all those top secret?
I won't tell you specific areas, but I'm very excited about a hunt that I'm going to do maybe the second. I think starting on the 25th, I'm going to head up into the Golden Trout Wilderness and get way back in the backcountry and archery hunt, and I'll be back there for at least 5 days. I think wherever you hunt, whether you're in D9 and you go up into Breckenridge, or D9 into the Paiutes, or up in the Greenhorns or upriver, for D8, one of the keys is to get off the beaten path, get back in, because the bigger bucks, the majority of the bucks, they know where people don't bother them, and they know when archery. To me, it was always obvious when the first rifle shot goes off. They know when the general season, the rifle season starts, but I've learned somehow they know when archery season starts, and there's no shot going off, but they know. They have a clock that tells them when the safe times are in the safe zones. If you can't, for whatever reasons, get back away from the majority of the hunters, use the other hunters for your advantage. If you know they're all on the roads and the trails down here, and you can get above them, deer tend to, especially when they're fleeing danger, they head uphill, because they get to the top, you come this way, they can run that way, you come this way, run that way. If you can't get away from the other hunters, use the other hunters to your advantage, to where all their disturbance will move the deer to you, or even below, down through a canyon if they move away from you.
So you're really studying the social behavior of the people as well as the animals, and just kind of getting out. I think the key thing is whether you're hunting or just being outdoors, is just getting out there and having fun.
Yeah, and the further, my personal opinion, I mean, some people like to stay in a hotel and go for day hikes or whatever. I mean, we have our own thing, but for me, the most fulfilling part about being in the mountains is getting away from everybody else.
Right.
You know, there's nothing more beautiful than, especially for a hunter, it's dark and it's 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is, it's pitch dark, and then seeing the sun slowly come up, and that silence. And then the world comes alive. There'll be a bird, there'll be a squirrel, there'll be a deer.
A little bit of a different experience, but in spearfishing in Honolulu, I was always reminded that once I enter that water, I'm now part of the food chain. And that always gave me a little bit more respect. And I think the same thing, as you get farther out into the wilderness, you better know what you're doing, because you might end up being part of the food chain as well. We're just about out of time. We did want to let people know how they can get involved. For Facebook, really, this is a Facebook group. It's a new thing for people who aren't in Facebook. They need to get onto Facebook. You can go up and do a search for the group, Kern River Valley Hunting, Fishing, and Great Outdoors, and then find the group that way, become a member, and get involved. You're not just looking for members, but also for sponsors, for business that want to help you guys out. You gave some prizes last year.
Well, last year we had first, second, and third place for the best buck photo, and also for the best bear photo and best junior hunter. I'm going to be looking for sponsors, local sponsors. They'll get advertising on the page through about a 6-month period while the whole contest goes on, to pay for the prizes. But I'm also looking for sponsors because of something I'm just starting. There's a need for a place.
All right, we're all out of time, so we're going to close it up. And there is more information. We're going to have to get out to Facebook to check it out. Thank you so much, Ridgecrest Talk.